Hello, I'm Grant Clifton. Here are my notes. Without further ado, let's begin. Do you remember whenever people used to say YOLO unironically? Back then, they wouldn't give a second thought because they'd just say YOLO, you only live once, as an excuse, basically. Now, this was sort of ambiguous. You could interpret what YOLO really meant to you. And I'd like to use it to describe my life today. My life can be described by my priorities and discipline and how they've changed throughout. I've gone from living my life to the fullest, to planning ahead, to eventually I've learned to actually devote myself to bettering myself. So when I was younger, I had some friends, but I wasn't really a team guy, and I didn't really socialize, and this made it so I was sort of selfish. I wasn't really sharing. And this didn't mean too much, because as a kid, nothing is really expected of you. But that's also a problem, because if you don't do work, how can you know your talents? And if you don't know your talents, how can you plan for your future? Thankfully, when I got into middle school, though, I eventually learned to be more social, and I learned to identify what my strengths actually were. So, once I learned I had potential, I began to create goals for this potential. And I was more than willing to work at school at stuff I didn't really care for in order for future reward in the future. However, I didn't have very much discipline. I didn't study very much per se. And this, I realized, was really kind of entitlement. How did I really expect to reach my goals while they were on the back burner? I mean, seriously, I was squandering my potential for use later. How could this be? Am I to say I'm perfect now? I am not. I procrastinate. There's plenty of imperfections and flaws you can see within me. But what's important is that I'm transitioning to an ideal to be a better man. I understand that what I receive in the future will be proportionate to the hard work I put in now. And part of this is understanding that the more I do now, the more desensitized I am to the work I'll have in the future. And this is also really what maturity is all about. It's about sacrifice. Through the progression of my life can indicate both my maturity and my values and how they've been throughout my life. I've learned that to accomplish my goals, it requires effort and the sacrifices of responsibility. And I think that everyone should learn their strengths and thus achieve their full potential because, after all, you only live once.